Welcome Kate and Jonathan Mess to the Good Supply Barn. Thank you so much for being here today. Kate Mess is a celebrated enamel artist and Jonathan is a celebrated ceramic artist. So let's get right to the love story. Tell us about how you met at grad school.
We met at the what's it called? The opening night.
It was like the orientation party or whatever, the first grad meeting.
Right.
And
we sat next to each other.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Fate.
But then, because grad school gets so busy, we didn't see each other for like 3 months.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, probably.
And then we had a class together.
Yep.
A few months after that, in the spring, and I don't know. I just popped in on you one day in the studio.
Yeah. Yeah, he came up to talk, and we ended up talking for
3
hours.
hours, and like all the in the metal studio, there are all these little studios. It's like a cubicle kind of place, and like they go, oh, he's still over there. Like it's like
It was all
you
women
couldn't get
in my
it was
grad
all women. You
program.
couldn't get
Yeah.
by.
Mhm.
But then we started having our because the studios are huge, so I could never find her, and I didn't want to be like, hey Kate, you know. So we started I would be like. So I would just like go into a room, a huge room, I'd be like, and she would hear, and she'd whistle back at me, and then I'd go find her.
Aww.
And now we do that in the grocery store, anywhere, like, so we're not like, Kurt, you know, you can do our whistle. And now it's our family whistle too, like Josie knows it. We just go in any giant room and be like,
How do living and working together contribute to your inspiration?
We have both really influenced each other over time. Jonathan has, being a metalsmith and a jeweler and a graphic designer, all of those things are very, perfectionistic, and you plan everything out and then you execute it, and he has really pushed me to loosen up and to do things more instinctively and spur of the moment. And I mean, I would say that on the other side, I have given your work, at least in photography and your website and stuff, a cleaner, crisper background to showcase the color and the...
No, it's an opposite attract story,
Yeah.
for sure. Like, she is, well thought out, and I'm like, rah, rah, like feeling an emotion, and then, she helps me plan and write and think about what I'm trying to say and do, and I, help her, move along in her process and, just be confident and just do it.
Mm-hmm.
So we're a good, balanced mix when we help each other.
Jonathan, tell us how Maine influences your work.
Yeah, I mean, how much film is that?
I was going to say
right?
the short of it. Yeah.
I mean, the Northeast and Maine, which is the next level of even the Northeast, it's the seasons, the water, the ocean, the tide, time, just the slow pace, especially now, I'm always trying to, winter is a great time to make. I always say, I'm a teacher, so summer, I'm going to make all this artwork in the summer. I'm trying to actually, I want to play in the summer and, absorb, nature and life, because we can be outside, Maine, it's harder and harder to get outside in January and February. You can do it, but you got to choose your moments. But that's the time I want to work. It's dark at 4 o'clock. That's the creative time, and that's the question before. That's what keeps me going, keeps me alive, keeps me happy, keeps me feeling like I've accomplished something, even in the middle of a blizzard. If you can work, I just love all that variety. A really quiet town, and in the influx in summer, all of a sudden there's all these people from away, and it's exciting to see the styles, the colors, all different kinds of people from all over the place, and then we kind of get back to the quieter times in the winter. So all that variety mixed in with the river rising and flooding, and then quiet and drought and everything. We experience everything up here. So, and I love the extremes.
Jonathan.
Yes.
We're super green. You're super green. What's up with that?
The long story short is, I mean, I once I start thinking deeply about how I use stuff, I don't want to order clay from like California, or clay from my supplier in Portland Pottery that orders it from California. That part of that is even coming from Asia, part of their ingredients, and they mix it and truck it and ship it. When there's local clay in the ground, which I don't use a lot of, but I do use some of. And then there's just all this waste everywhere from every local pottery, every local school. At the end of the day, people have all this stuff. I've got a pretty good supply, and I'm not paying for it. I'm kind of saving it from the landfill, which makes me feel good. And I think it is good. It's not just about making me feel good, but it is good. Because clay, glaze, and materials, there's a lot of metals, coppers, and cadmiums in red, and yellow is zirconium, and cobalt in the blues, all that stuff. If you just are like, oh, we don't want this anymore, you throw a 5-gallon bucket of glaze out, it's gonna get put in the dump, it's gonna leach into the water table. So what you're supposed to do is fire it to a solid point, and then you can throw it away. But again, a lot of people, you can't just fire a bunch of glaze or just melt into a puddle. So you have to like throw a really thick bowl or something, pour it into that, and cross your fingers it doesn't crack and leak all over your kiln. So it's hard for ceramic places to deal with. So most potteries, schools, they all have like a back room full of like their with glazes and stuff with question marks on it and old stuff. They just don't know what to do it. So I show up and they love me because they're like, oh, please use this, take this with you. Would you like to take this with you? We have plenty of this.
In Truth or Dare, Jonathan did not choose Dare. So he's on the spot for truth right now.
Oh man.
What's your favorite thing about Kate's work?
Oh wow. I could just immediately, it's like color and shape. I love her colors. They're like both earthy and bright, and we both share this love of like using earth tones but popping it with like some turquoise, or using turquoise but muting it down. So we share a love of color. It is raining, but her shapes are also so funky. I love that.
Truth or Dare?
Truth? Oh wait, no.
All right, Truth. What's your favorite thing about Jonathan's work?
Oh, so many things. One favorite thing? I love his irreverence. Like, I love that he comes to this material with huge history, and in the craft world, whether it's jewelry or ceramics or whatever, there are a lot of people who are like, this is the way you do things, and that's not the way you should do something, And I love that he approaches it with this knowledge first, like he knows his material really well, but he has this real irreverence about following those rules, and I think that takes his work to really interesting places. And like he makes up his own rules over like what forms the pieces can take, or when they're finished, or if something is broken at some stage in the making, in the firing, or afterwards, he reinvents it, and he decides like what makes it finished artwork. And I love that. Like the other thing I really love is his use of color. He has always had a great eye for color, and yeah, I think that is a nice conversation between our work.
Okay, hard-hitting questions here. What's a Midwest gal like you doing with barnacles?
Well, I think it's like, when you first come to a place that's so different from where you grew up and what is normal to you, you really like pick up on those things that are so different. And I just love going to the beach. I always have loved, collecting shells and stuff like that when we would go on vacation. Feel like I'm permanently on vacation here, get to go to the beach whenever we want. And I just love all of the shells and the forms and the barnacles and the mussel shells, and as forms and in concept, like with enameling, I started making those barnacle pieces really as like an exercise in moving faster, and just playing around. And the way that I make them is like I cut them all out with hand shears, fold them up pretty quickly, and then enamel both sides of them. And then when I combine them together, a lot of them now are by themselves, but when I combine them together, I just like kind of stack them up and make little fun compositions and put them back in the kiln, and the enamel is what adheres them to each other. They like melt together. And so that also really reminded me of the way that barnacles attach to other shells and make this new composition. Yeah.
It's so refreshing to hear about you doing and not just saying, because you both are teachers. So the fact that you're sort of holding your own art professional development and sort of creative exploration to these best practices is pretty awesome.
Yeah, thank you. For me, at least, I came to teaching in kind of a roundabout way. I didn't ever intend initially to be a teacher, though I've come to realize it's just so natural. Like, I love education and I love like teaching people about making art. But I think being a practicing artist first really helped me be a better teacher and, you know, be able to speak from experience and, you know, my own practice.
Having two necklaces in one is amazing for a collector. What is it about two-sided pieces that interests you?
I think it's part of just always considering the whole piece. So whether that's the earrings, I always try to have like a pop of color on the back of the earrings so it's fully considered. There's not like a backside or I do this in all of my jewelry. So, and maybe it's from a design background too. Like, I don't necessarily set out intending for the necklaces to be two-sided. Actually, when I made this one, I think this was the front side.
Yeah.
But it always seems just like a lost opportunity if I don't carry the design through on the back side, and it's fun, you know, it's fun for me to play, and like it's like an added bonus that people can wear them either way. Yeah.